mean, I feel like everyone else has a... I feel like everyone else is better at describing it than me. Like, I get people saying to me, like, oh, your sound, you know, reminds me of, you know, X band and Y band. And I'm like, oh, well, I haven't heard of either of those bands, but, you know, I'm really glad that, you know, you find some familiarity in it. To me, it's sort of the product of not listening to too much music. I feel like I draw from a few, like, specific sources, and sort of take less of the sound itself, but sort of the functions of the sound. Like, progressive metal has this really, you know, hard-hitting quality to it. And, you know, that's what I enjoy about it, and I love the technicality, but, you know, maybe I don't necessarily like, you know, too much harsh vocals, or, you know, the sort of pretentiousness that can come with prog. So I try to bring, you know, like, some punk into it through the lyrics and the melodies and stuff. So within the band, we like to call it prog punk. And sort of less progressive metal and more heavy progressive rock, if we're describing it, you know, to someone. Because it is less about the heaviness, and it's more about the musicality than anything. Sort of like... It was one of the ones that sort of encapsulated, like, the sound of Ebonivory the best. Like, it's a really challenging song to play. It's in 7/4 time signature, which is broken down into 7/8 and then 7/16. So it's like this kind of fractal time signature that all overlap. But at the same time, it kind of comes off as like a pop punk song almost, with, you know, the chorus has a nice melody. You know, lyrically it's, you know, still emotional. It's not too, like, grand. It doesn't have a big grand narrative. And yeah, it's sort of just that juxtaposition of, it's a crazy song and we all struggle to play it, and, you know, oh, my parents could listen to this song and enjoy it as well. And that's sort of what we're all about. And the music video for that was our first sort of, you know, high production music video. And we did that with Dave Hunter from Circles. His skill behind the camera was just so masterful, and he knew, you know, exactly what he was doing. And then we had my partner, Maddie Butterworth, doing all of the lights, and all of the lighting equipment that was loaned out from SLC Ballarat. And, you know, with that big cascade of lights behind us, and, you know, Dave doing his thing, it was just like a recipe for a really pretty music video. We did Tales of Termina, which was, you know, one of our sort of heavier, kind of tongue-in-cheek, you know, metal songs. And the music video for that Dave Hunter also did. And it's it's probably one of the most intense shooting experiences that I've ever had. We ended up shooting maybe the last 8 hours of it, like really late at night, because it was in like this little studio setup that we'd built, and it was like, you know, -2 degrees, and there was like frost all over the cars, and, you know, I was just wearing, you know, a shirt and some pants, and it was interesting, but it was well worth it, because that was probably, you know, one of my proudest, you know, video achievements, writing and directing that, you know, little narrative kind of comedy piece. So Tales of Termina, the name kind of comes from Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, a Nintendo 64 game. And the land that it's set in is called Termina, and you play the game. You've got 3 days until the moon hits the Earth, and then at the end of the 3 days, you go back in time. But with, the knowledge that you have, you can spend the next 3 days doing different things. And so the video kind of plays on the idea that everything is kind of pre-planned, and, destiny's already set in stone. And to a degree, that is sort of applicable in the way that, we're all expected to, get a full-time job and do this, act a certain way and whatnot. And the video is just kind of a big metaphor for, breaking free from that cycle and, choosing your own way forward. Basically, I write all the music. I'll sit down. I like to tab all of our songs out. So I kind of compose them digitally first. And then, keep doing that. Just keep reiterating on it until I've, got basically a song finished. And I'll send it to the guys and I'll be like, hey, what do you think? Should we add anything to it? And then I start recording them. So usually I start with guitars and bass, and use program drums. And I record all of the guitars and the bass and stuff, except for a lot of the more fiddly lead guitar parts Louis does, because he's a much better guitarist than I am. And then, you basically just construct these songs at my home studio, and then we get Dave to come in and we record. Dave, our drummer, not Dave Hunter, who's also a drummer, David Parks. We get him to come in, and we have, a few days of recording drums, and layer the drums over the top of the rest of the song that's been recorded. And then after everything's done, I mix it and, make it all sound good. Lots of little tweaks, lots of little, spices. And then once all the instrumentals are done, that's when I start doing vocals. And I usually write and record vocals at the same time. So I'll sit down, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to finish this song. And then, basically within a day, I've written and recorded vocals for a song or two. And and then after that, it's just, more tweaking, more just listening back to it and, making tiny little changes that no one's ever going to notice until, you get what you hear on the record. I do all of our promo images for social media, so it might say Ebonivory premiering single tonight or something. I do all of that stuff. I did our album artwork for The Long Dream and some of the single artworks and stuff. Any artwork stuff that I don't do, we get Thrashwolf to do, Logan, and he's a really, really talented designer. He's done some of our single artworks. The latest single artwork, Introvection, he did that, and he does some of our shirt designs and stuff, so he's a big part of it as well. But I do our video work, any auxiliary video stuff like guitar playthroughs and interviews and stuff. I do them myself, so it saves a lot of time and money, a lot of back and forth, can we change this, can we reiterate on that. It's sort of just okay, I know what we need, I know how this needs to look, I'll do it myself, and it saves. Not that I'm the most talented, person ever. I believe that I'm a jack of all trades, but very far from a master of any of them. But just in terms of, saving time and, hassle, it's really handy to have a wide skill set. Really just sort of preparing. Since our US tour with Caligula's Horse, got postponed, we've all just been left with a bunch of free time to, get assets ready and promote things, and it's been an interesting People have had to focus more on, recording and doing their videos while it's in lockdown, because, we can't deliver music live anymore. So it's been challenging, but also eye-opening. And I think the way that people consume media during these times has changed a lot as well. I think it's given everyone, not just our band, but everyone sort of an opportunity to think about, alternative marketing strategies and, distribution strategies, and coming up with, unique ways to still play music and deliver music to people without, necessarily being physically in the same room. I think it definitely lowers the barrier of entry for, maybe newer musicians or bands. You can just live stream into the abyss and, you might catch some viewers. It's good practice. Definitely a good way to, get used to playing to an audience because, you're disconnected. It can definitely take away some of the pressure that, beginning musicians would feel. And definitely, a lot more people are consuming, pre-recorded songs and covers and stuff like that. And that's a great way for people to get into music, I think, because you can record something, and if it's no good, you just do it again until you get the perfect take. And, it kind of takes away from the live element, but I think that now that people sort of recognize that as a valid medium, it'll open up a lot of opportunities for a wider range of people. We're planning on doing something similar for the album release. It's a bit under wraps, but with the way that Australia's going, that might not be completely necessary. We might, we might be playing shows, sooner than we expect. Yeah, there'll be a hefty size of content being delivered. Probably thank my parents. I live with them, and my studio's here. They're always at the top of the band's thank you list. Our team at Wild Thing, just, taking off all the stress from our hands. We can just create music and stuff now. And Emery, our old guitarist, all of our fans, all of our friends, especially all the bands that we've played with, thank you. Sweet. Let's cut. Beauty.